And you've just heard I Found a New Baby, the current single taken from Rose Room's new album, It's Been a Long, Long Time, which is out on the 18th of April. And I'm delighted to be joined by Seonaid Aitken from Rose Room now. Hello, Shona.
Hi, Alistair. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. And before we talk about the new album, can you tell us a bit about Rose Room? Because you've been about for a while.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, 15 years. I actually can't believe it. We started out at the Hot Club of Glasgow. Individually, a couple of us went along to have a jam session. I was getting into gypsy jazz at that time. That was back in 2010. And then Tam, the guitarist, rhythm guitarist in the band, he popped along and heard that there was a violinist going along to the session because originally it was just all guitarists. So, when there was a violinist that came along, they were like, "Oh, let's go and listen, let's go and play." So he grabbed me at the bar one night and said, "Do you want to join a band?" And so, I was young, I was keen, I was up for it, and I said, "Yeah, all right, let's give it a go." And apparently, he told me later that he rushed around to Jimmy Moon's shop, which is just round the corner, Moon Guitars, and said, "Jimmy, we need a bassist ASAP. Do you want to be in the band?" Yeah, so that's how it all started, and we rehearsed in Jimmy's front room, and made a couple of wee recordings, and just to see what we sounded like. Our sort of initial idea was to get a couple of pub gigs around Glasgow, and see where it went from there. But it went a great place from there. I mean, we've won 2 Scottish Jazz Awards now for Best Band, and we've been together for 15 years and made 4 albums now.
And now I know the name Jimmy Moon as someone who makes guitars. I did not know that he also played as well. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's brilliant actually. He's a left-handed double bass player.
Wow.
So that can pose a few problems when we go sort of further afield. Sometimes if we go to up to Shetland, he'll maybe have to take, we have to take the boat. However, there is a left-handed bass player up in Shetland that we've managed to borrow a bass from, and also down in London when we our trains got cancelled last year for a gig at the Gypsy Jazz Festival of London, and I said, "Oh, wait a minute, I know a left-handed bass player in London." A Scottish guy who'd just won BBC Young Jazz Musician, so we borrowed his bass. So it's quite a common thing, it seems.
Yeah, well, that is handy because they're not easy things to kind of carry about.
Totally.
And so the album, it's been a long, long time. Is that pointed? Because I think it's been 10 years since your last one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a number of things. Yeah, 10 years since the last album came out. We've got a new guitarist now, a new solo guitarist, Connor Smith, who's from the south side of Glasgow. And so it was great to sort of capture the sound that we have with him now in the band. And also it's been 15 years since we started, and the song actually was one of the first that we learned together as a band when Connor joined during COVID times. And it was we learned it individually in our separate rooms and put one of those split screen music videos together, and that everyone's kind of sick of now. But it was a nice way for us to kind of be together even though we couldn't be together. So it's a quite a nice. It's a lovely song, but a nice sentiment, I think, as well.
And you've mentioned some of the people who are in the band on the album. Are there other musicians playing as well?
Yeah, we've invited a whole host of special guests, actually. Just people that we've collaborated with over the years. Musical friends, I guess. I've talked about going up to Shetland. We've got a brilliant Shetland fiddler, my favourite Shetland fiddler, Brian Gear. He always joins us for a tune when we're up there playing. So he's on the album playing Lady Be Good with us. And we've got Arctic Sewak, who is a stunning accordionist. He's from the Roma community based in Glasgow. And we just really wanted to get his sort of flavour on the album. We've seen him play with the Ando Glasso Collective, and we've had a jam, with him several times at various festivals across Scotland, like Butte Minouche, which is unfortunately no longer happening. But we thought it was really important to have that sort of Roma voice on the
Yeah.
record as well. Owen Gunnell, he's a vibes player. He's actually a classical player, but we've done a lot of concerts with him with children's classic concerts. So sort of bringing the music of Django. We've devised a couple of shows actually together with this organisation, and bringing the music of Django and the story of the gypsy music really to kids. So it's brilliant to have Owen joining us on the album, and also Alice Allen and Patsy Reed and Kristen Harvey, who are three of my all-time favourite classical, string quartet players, string players. So, and they're wonderful friends as well. So I'm chuffed to have the three of them on a few tracks on the album.
I can imagine you've probably got a substantial contact book, Shona, that you can call these people. Just one quick question. What are vibes?
Oh, vibes, the vibraphone.
A vibraphone, is that? Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the first time I saw vibes on an album cover, I kind of thought it was like Bez and Happy Mondays. He was just maybe providing the vibes of everything going on, but it is an instrument. That's good to know.
Yeah. You know, it's really dreamy actually, and Owen plays on one of the tracks called Nuage, which means clouds, and we often play this for the kids actually in the concert that we do together, and it just has that sort of ethereal quality to it. Yeah, beautiful instrument.
And the sound of the album and your sound of Rose Room is gypsy jazz. Perhaps the most famous proponent, Django Reinhardt, certainly someone that I loved when I was younger. But maybe expand that a little bit for people who don't know gypsy jazz. Are the big influences, and what's the kind of typical sound?
Oh, it's my favourite style of music. I'm just absolutely hooked as soon as I kind of heard it and experienced playing it. It started in the 1930s with Django Reinhardt, a Belgian Roma gypsy guitarist, who actually suffered a really bad accident with a caravan fire, and a few of his fingers kind of fused. So a lot of the sound and the chord shapes that you hear in this music are devised by Django just so he could get around the instrument, with these just those two fingers and the thumb. So he uses a lot of minor sixth chords if you want to get into the theory of things. So like a major chord, but with an extra, a major or a minor chord actually, with an extra added sixth, which just gives it a certain flavour to the music. It's got sort of Eastern European flavour as well to the music. A lot of the tunes are in a minor key, but even if they're not, they still have that flavour, as I'm talking about, that colour that comes from the sort of the six chords, but also from the virtuosity and the scales that are used in the music. It's really engaging. It's really, it's totally toe tapping. And it's happy music. It's driving, it's rhythmic, it's fun. So I think that's what draws me to it.
I think you're right. It's got the kind of the instrumentation and the kind of playing that you get right across jazz. But maybe there's something more, not welcoming's the wrong word, but as you say, you kind of have to move to it. You have to, it's a real kind of, there's you can imagine people dancing as you're playing and all of those things. That's a big part of it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's really accessible as well, I think. It's not,
that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, accessible.
Yeah. It's and that's what we find when we play all across, Scotland, all across the UK. We don't always play at jazz festivals, sometimes it's folk festivals, and people just really love the sound. They say, look, I didn't think I liked jazz before, but now that I've heard that, I like jazz. Even my best friend says that actually. But it's, there's so many different types of jazz, as you know. And this is kind of an earlier form, but it has that sort of European sound to it. So.
And as you say, a folk side to it as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and definitely. So we've played a track from the album. We're going to play another one later on. But what can people expect from the album? There's a few covers on there.
Yeah, well, a lot of covers. The last album we did, we sort of interspersed original material, but this time it's just music that we love to play that's in the canon, I suppose. We've dipped our toe in now. We always stayed away from it before, but we've dipped our toe in to record a couple of Django Reinhardt tunes. Nuage, I mentioned earlier, the Clouds, which is perhaps one of his most famous tunes, and Trublon Bolero, which is a kind of a Latin themed sort of bossa nova type type piece, and the strings are on that one as well. So so aside from Django Reinhardt tunes, there's 1920s, 1930s, some obscure tunes that Tam loves to find, these sort of more obscure tunes that we can put into our set that not everyone has heard. So it challenges not only us, but challenges the listeners and the audience. So we've got a sort of rare Fats Waller tune in there as well. And yeah, just some of our favourites that we've grown to love performing across the years.
And how do you come, because there's such a big catalogue to choose from, how do you come to choose what you're going to cover? Is that part of a long process?
It is actually, yeah. Somebody will say, "Oh, I really fancy this tune. Shall we give it a go and we'll maybe play it?" Or some people will veto it straight away, So it has to be a sort of group consensus. And what we've done with this album as well is we've played all the tunes in, so we're really familiar with them, we're comfortable with them. But the interesting thing is when you go into a studio, the tunes totally morph and take on their own sort of persona in a recording environment. So I really love that process, seeing where the tunes can go with, extra strings, extra players. And we've got to curtail our solos to a certain amount of time. It can't be like, 10-minute tunes, as sometimes, we would do in a live performance. But yeah, it's really they've really taken on a new lease of life, I think, being in the studio and recording these songs.
And what's the recording process like? Are you playing as a live band or are you recording it separately?
Well, we've done it separately this time. We have done it as a live band before, but it just gives you a little bit more control. So, for example, if I play a bum note in one of my solos and I don't like that, but everyone else is happy, there would be a bit of a to and fro about what are we going to let pass. So it's just nice to have that full control, I think, to sort of piece it together. So Tam and Jimmy will go in and record the bass and the rhythm guitar. Connor and I will play with them at the same time in the studio, so it feels like a live sound, but we'll be in a different room.
Right.
So we'll just capture their rhythm section, and then we'll add our things on top, and as we see fit, and the vocals and everything as well. So.
And are you going to be playing live? Are there plans to play live?
Yes, yeah, we've been really busy booking shows throughout the whole year for our 15th anniversary. Yeah, we're kicking off in Skye actually on the 26th of April with Skye Chamber Society, and then we're heading down to Kyle of Loch Alsh the day after that, and then on the Monday the 28th we're actually doing a kind of unofficial album launch at Crossbasket Castle. There's a new venue there called Trocaderos. The menu's sort of overseen by Michelle Roux Jr. So it's quite a swanky place.
Is that kind of between East Kilbride and Blantyre?
It is, yeah.
I know it. I used to live in Cambuslang at the back of that, so I know that very well, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really lovely place. I've not been into the venue as such because it's a brand new venue,
Yeah, sure.
but I'm looking forward to that. They've got live music every night actually, so
How
we're
lovely.
happy to. Yeah, and then we're playing all across Scotland, down in England, throughout the year. You can check our bands in town and our website for all the dates. But
And are the songs, I mean, you mentioned when you're recording for the album, you maybe have to curtail a solo or two, but when you're playing live, is it a different, will people hear these songs but slightly differently?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So the solos you'll hear on the record are just the ones we were happy with at the time during the recording process. But it's yeah, every time we play a solo, it's something new. So yeah, it's always keeps the music fresh.
It's so interesting, having spoken to a few jazz musicians over the years, that it seems to me that if you go along, if you've seen the band before, go and see them again because it will be completely different. It's almost about doing something new each time and discovering something new. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I think back to 2010 when I first started playing this style of music, and we first started experimenting with this style, yeah, our playing has completely changed since then. So if you saw us back then and you liked us, then you'll like us even more this time because things have been honed. We've got our new guitarist, as I mentioned, Connor Smith, and the pair of us play off each other really well, I think, in the moment. And that's the beauty of jazz. Actually, it's spontaneous and it's reactive and it's fun.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think to have the confidence as musicians to kind of I guess it's just playing with each other and getting to know each other as musicians.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's some things that some little licks that maybe you have in your sort of bank. And sometimes Connor will always preempt. He can hear when this particular lick that I do is coming up, and he's got this brilliant sort of accompanying figure that he'll do to it. And I'm like, oh, you knew that was coming.
And you mentioned earlier on about collaborating with other people, and I've seen you many times on stage with many different bands as well. In fact, I'm kind of surprised you get the time to do a tour with Rose Room, because you seem to be working with so many other people as well. And maybe give us a wee bit of background into your kind of musical life aside
Yeah.
from Rose Room.
Oh, it's very varied, as you can probably tell from all the projects I do. I grew up with a dad who played traditional Scottish accordion, so I learned all the trad stuff from him. My mum was a classical pianist, so I had that and, going in my ears. They met in the local musical theatre association, so they took me along to all the rehearsals instead of getting childcare. And so I soaked up all the Great American Songbook,
Yeah.
from all the old musicals, and I think that's really what kickstarted my love of jazz, actually. And then yeah, I ended up studying classical violin, classical piano. I did voice on the side, studied with an opera student, um, and then I ended up joining a dancing fiddle show and toured across the world. So and that led me to working for Disney and on the cruise ships, and then I finally came back to Scotland and said, yeah, I'm gonna I'll base myself here and see
Right.
what happens. So I've done a lot and I've been around the world. Lived in Japan for a while when I worked for Disney, and
Wow.
that's what inspired my last album, my solo album, Chasing
Yeah.
Sakura. All about the cherry blossoms, which you
Yeah.
know.
I know, absolutely. But it's what a life to have led. But going from Disney, gypsy jazz. I mean, there's quite a lot of influences to take in there. And we've mentioned the dates you're going to be playing live, and it's been 10 years since the last Rose Room album. Have you even
Yeah.
considered what you might do in the future, or are you just this is the album for now and let's just enjoy it?
Oh yeah, that's it, the latter. Because as there's a lot involved in recording an album. It's not just you don't just go in the studio and do it.
No.
There's a whole lot of promo needed to be done, and you have to really think about the concept and think about what you're going to look like, what the artwork's going to be. We actually found this lovely Parisian cafe in the West End of Glasgow called Wee Paris, and
Mhm.
we went along and did a photo shoot there. We thought that was really a beautiful place, actually, and really sort of represented the sort of French flavour in the music that we play. So all of that kind of thing. There's a lot to be done. And then we've got to get out and play it and shout about it, because
Yeah,
no one else
absolutely.
is gonna.
But that's a lovely idea of because it feels to me that you've really captured the spirit of the time as well as the spirit of the music, and and you've thought about that with the imagery and the photos and all of those things.
Yeah, definitely. But I hope that as well, because you don't want to just become a sort of carbon copy of the Hot
No,
Club of France. I
no.
hope that we've taken some of the music a little bit into the future, with some of the string arrangements maybe. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the gypsy jazz aficionados think of our interpretations.
Well, Shona, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I've really been listening to the album all week and it sounds fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, Alistair, and thanks for your support, as always.
And this is Rose Room, and I wish you love.